Harvard University faces more fallout after dozens of student groups signed a letter blaming Israel for this month's deadly Hamas attacks.
Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan says the students' actions are anti-Semitic, and now he's backing out of multiple Harvard fellowship programs. And Governor Hogan joins us right now from Washington, D.C. With more on this story. First, thanks for joining us and good to see you.
Good afternoon.
All right, so Governor, you say you respect the right to free speech. What was it about the students' letter that made you cut ties with programs?
Well, look, I do respect the right of the students. Free speech is important, but this crossed the line, and they have that right. But I thought the university ought to push back very forcefully and directly about the messages. This was on the day of the attacks, as hundreds of people were brutally massacred by terrorists, and it wasn't just, you know, out there supporting the Palestinian cause or talking about this in general. It was praising the terrorist acts, and I thought it was something that the university should have forcefully and directly, countered and spoken up about. So I was looking forward to this opportunity to be at Harvard. It was a difficult decision to make, but I thought it was important to raise the issue and try to push the president of Harvard to move in a different direction.
Harvard's president did release a statement calling the attacks abhorrent. What do you think the university should have done when this letter was released?
Well, they just released a statement today or yesterday after my letter, and I'm glad that we prompted some action. But this is 17 days late, and I thought immediately after the terrorist attacks, they should have spoken out more strongly. And this crossed over into hate speech. It was threatening to the Jewish students who were there who didn't feel safe. And look, I was going there to talk about one of the things I was speaking about at the Kennedy School was going to be about how we do something about the angry rhetoric, the divisive, angry politics we have today, and but this just was beyond the pale, and I thought something that universally has been condemned, or other leaders standing up and speaking out, including many of the professors at Harvard and some of the people on the board and many of their big graduates. So I'm not the only one speaking out, but for me it was just an important decision, I thought, to stand up and stand on the right side of history.
So, Governor, what is the message that you want students to take from this moment?
Well, I think that, this was the worst attack and murder of Jewish people since the Holocaust. And it wasn't just a political issue. It wasn't a dispute over land. This was about really just the vile, hateful acts where they beheaded infants and cut babies out of mothers and killed women and raped and killed women and children, dragged off elderly people. I think it's something that probably Harvard University should have spoken up and said, this is not something that we condone here at Harvard. And they're one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and I thought it was a chance for them to show kind of moral clarity, and I thought they failed.
Some of the students from these groups that signed that letter, whether they specifically participated in writing it or not, have been doxxed, harassed. Some have lost job offers. What's your response to that?
Well, I'm not sure that that's the right response. I just thought that the university ought to stand up and speak out more strongly. But I think many of the students who signed that letter have now rescinded and withdrawn it, and some of them said they didn't even know what they were signing. Look, I think it was a pretty strong attack, pretty strong support, kind of cheering on and congratulating and celebrating the terrorists. And I understand why there's so much frustration out there, and people from Harvard certainly have a decision to make that decision for themselves.
And Governor, we have all been watching the conflict overseas closely. What's your take on how the U.S. is supporting Israel?
Well, I think the president is saying the right things, and he's standing up and supporting Israel. It's a little bit of a mixed, confusing message. I think we got to back up the words with the actions. I think we've got to stand out a little more forcefully with Iran, who's funding all of this and encouraging all of this attacks in multiple different countries. But it's a very dangerous situation, and we've got to choose our words carefully, and we've got to choose our actions very carefully. So I think the administration's got to make sure they continue to speak with one voice and not equivocate, and they've got to back things up with actions, because the stakes are very high.
I have to ask you, because we have you here, we're heading into a presidential election year. Your name had been out there. What are the chances that you'll throw your name into the ring?
Well, it's not really something that I'm focused on. There are a lot of people have been encouraging me for a long time, but I made the decision back in the spring to not join the Republican primary race. And right now, I want to continue to be a voice and speak out on issues like this that I think are important, but I'm not contemplating any race for president.
Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Governor. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.